Welcome to Cat's Country. Today we are going to paint a moonlight, and it's going to be a beginner painting or intermediate, but we're going to learn a lot of different little techniques, and we're going to simplify it quite a bit because we are going to use acrylic on the background that we can dry real fast and then do oil on top. We're going to start out with a canvas. I'm doing like a 16 by 20, which is a little big for the camera. Sometimes it gets out of the edges. But I'm going to start with a navy, a royal blue, and a white, all in acrylic. And what we're going to do a background. And I've sped this up. You can pause the camera if you want, but about a little less than half of the picture, you want a darker blue for the ocean, and for the upper third or half, you're going to do a lighter color. You can take this off if you want to make the horizon exactly straight. Feel free to paint one half of it and then let it dry real good, and then you can tape it off with some masking tape or painter's tape, and then you can paint the other half. I usually just freestyle it. And I also like to paint the side of my canvas, so a lot of times it gets a little out of the camera, just like this. But what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get the sides painted too. And I use just a plastic plate to put my paint in. And of course I wet my brush first. Always wet your brush first, so that way you have some moisture in the brush itself. And then I'm painting a little less than half of the dark blue, and the rest I'm doing a darker blue. And you can mix a little bit of it. I did not clean my brush at all while I was painting the background. If you feel like you have too much white showing through, you can do a second coat. It does not have to be perfect because this painting is going to have like streaks in it anyway from the clouds and the ocean. So, and it is upside down right now. Sometimes it's easier for me to paint it one way than the other. And you may like to use an easel. I'm painting in a little cramped space here and trying to get it on camera, so. And I'm adding a little bit of white in the light blue, so it kind of looks streaky to begin with. That kind of helps the clouds kind of look that way. And I'm not paying a lot of attention if it's real light or white or dark blue on the sides. I just want something painted on the side. That way, once you hang it, you don't really have to buy a frame for it if you don't want to. And I put a little dark here and there. And of course, I get paint everywhere. I usually stop every once in a while, wash my hands, because I get paint so much everywhere. And I wanted a little dark here and there, especially in the corners a little bit, so I went ahead and streaked it on there. And then I didn't even clean my brush, and I just kind of went back and forth a little bit on the darker blue, which is actually going to be the ocean. I'm trying not to paint it too much. Now I washed my brush out with my water, and I'm taking my blow dryer or my heat gun. If you use a heat gun, be very careful. You can actually cook your painting. See, it's nice and dry. So I'm putting all my acrylic brushes away, and I'm getting my oil brushes out. And I do not use many brushes. I have a couple favorites. It's about a 1/2-inch brush that's a squirrel hair brush that I like to use the most. But if you have a firm oil brush, you can use it. And then I always like to use mop brushes, and this is a medium. I put some medium in an old cap, and so once the painting's dry, the medium helps the oil wash or move around a little bit more. You see, I'm squirting the medium. You could use linseed oil, gambasol, whatever your favorite is. And I just kind of painted on the painting a little bit. I got it in my brush a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm just kind of basing in where I'm going to have the clouds, because I'm going to have a moon with the clouds kind of lighter around the moon. I'm just kind of streaking it back and forth. And a list of all the paints I used is at the bottom. But mostly, of course, I use a lot of titanium white. And I've also got some Cereliun Blue and Ultramarine Blue. And that's the main colors I use. But I also sometimes will put a little purple in it if you want it a little bit more dark. I don't think I use that much in there, and I always put a little bit of raw umber in with some of my paintings just to tone it down a little bit. And what I'm doing, my brush has some oil in it, and I'm mixing a little bit of and just streaking it back and forth. I'm doing a back and forth motion, and I've started with the top of the painting. It works better for me so I don't get into the oil so much, because I wear my paint. So I'm just going back and forth, and I've got some light here and I've got some dark. I'll pick up a little bit of the light, and then I'll pick up a little bit of the dark. And like I say, I've got a lot of Ultramarine Blue. I've got Cereliun Blue and Titanium White. And I'm kind of just picking up a little bit of each here and there, and I'm just going back and forth. And towards the horizon, I usually get a little lighter. So I'll pick up a little bit more white in my brush than the blue, because I want that horizon to be a little lighter. And like right here, I've done way too much white, but I'll blend it out. You can either put a little medium in it and blend it, or you can get a little bit more paint and blend it. But I'm just kind of making the sky a little streaky, actually. Right here, I'm just putting a little bit on the edge too. I want the edge of the painting to have a color. And I'm going to leave the center of the horizon, the center of the sky open, and then I'm going to put my moon in there. But the clouds will be light on the edges. It's like the sky's opened up around the moon. And you can actually bring your clouds a little bit in front of the moon, behind the moon, because the moonlight kind of drowns it out sometimes. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. This is actually a kind of fast painting. And you can take your time and do it a little neater than I did. And the moonlight does kind of leave more light in the sky. But right here I've got a little bit of glare. I think when I work with medium, it puts a bit of a glare on there, and it will dry flat. I'm just kind of going back and forth where I'm going to have the moon, because I'm going to have it lighter where it's at. I just want a little bit of lighter area behind the moon. The main thing is put a little bit of medium, a little bit of paint on your brush, and just kind of go back and forth. It kind of looks like one hot mess, but it'll look better later. Hardest thing about this painting is getting the moon round, but you could always do this with a Q-tip if you'd rather. And the moon doesn't have to be an exact round, bright white spot. You're using a little bit of blue, a little bit of white in your brush. You put it on there. If it's too blue, you can add a little bit of white. But it's not complete white. And I'm going to add a little bit of dark around my moon. But you don't have to do this, but it just kind of makes it stand out a little bit. And you could go back and put your white, make your moon a little bit rounder too. And I kind of leave my moon kind of spotty, rough. It's not completely the same color, because if you ever look up at the moon, it's kind of got some darker areas in it. All right, I'm taking a little bit more white, and I need to mix a little more paint. So I'm going to take some white, and I'm going to add just a little bit of blue with it. And then I'm going to take a little bit of that, and then I'm going to add a little bit more. Make it some more different shades. I'm going to make some lighter shades and darker shades with my blue. And then I will just pick up a little bit from each spot, depending on what. Put a teeny bit of yellow in it, cad yellow, just a touch. And I use the same palette for several things, so some of these colors you won't use. But I mix several different shades of blue and white so I can have the different colors available when I want them. But right now it looks so streaky, but it'll look better later. So I'm going to kind of get my area. Where do I want the outside of my clouds that are opening up? And then I'm just going to kind of blend it out. And then once I put the white it's not actually white though, just remember none of this is bright white. It's actually a lighter blue more than anything. But I'm putting the lighter color against the moon, or towards the moon. Then I'm kind of blending it out to. Most of the time, whenever you're doing clouds, the clouds are smaller towards the horizon. And so you may want to put some little clouds out here. And with oil, it's very forgiving. If you put it out here and you don't like it, you can take a blending brush and blend it. In fact, this whole painting is done with just very few brushes. I use my little flat, and then I use a makeup brush that I use as a blender. And this makeup brush, I bought a set off of Amazon, and it was hardly anything. I think I paid like $6 for it. It came with like 30 brushes. And I'll show it to you in a little while. I'm sitting here using my left hand trying to show you how to try to get out of the camera, so forgive me. See, I put the white on and then just kind of blend it out. And it's got a little medium on the canvas now from the first layer that we did, or the second layer, I should say. So now I just kind of want to do the clouds near the sun. I mean the moon. Once I put this on, I knew right off the bat it was too light. But I'll come back and blend it out a little bit. Just long streaks is what I'm doing with the clouds here. It really does look like a big white ring around the moon at the moment, but we'll fix it. I'm going to add a little bit more lighter color. And then just kind of dab it, because I don't want it all to be very bright. And in the water, I've got it where you can see where the moonlight will come down. And so that's mostly to remind me to keep that lighter. So now I'm taking some medium and I'm starting at the bottom. And I'm just going to kind of blend it back and forth. I have to adjust my camera. You see, I'm using the Ultramarine Blue with some medium. And you can put a little bit of black in it here and there on the bottom corner, maybe just to make it a little darker. I just kind of want to go back and forth, and it's kind of the same technique for the water as it is the clouds. And every time I use medium, it does make a glare, so I'm sorry about that. I used quite a bit of medium in this painting. But it'll dry clear. You can, if you want your paint to dry quicker, you can use liquid as a medium. And whenever you use liquid, it'll dry within a few days. And to dry your painting, a lot of times I'll put my oven light on and put it in my oven, or I'll put it in a hot car in the back seat, or in the hatchback in the back. And just leave it in a warm car for a day or two. It'll dry it real fast. You see, it's kind of the same technique as the clouds. I want to make it streaky back and forth. I'm going to add a little bit of lighter here, so it's a little bit of the lighter blue. You know, you can do this painting also in more of a grayer mix, and even a greener mix. Just use the lighter colors where I use the lighter colors. You can mix the different color paints on your palette with your brush, or you can use a palette knife and go ahead and mix some of them. But see, right now my water looks very streaky, which is what I want. And then I want to have the lighter right here. My painting looks so crooked, but I think it's the angle of the camera. I'll have to work on that. I'm putting a little bit more lighter. I'm not using just white, I'm using the lighter blue, or white with some blue in it. And then blending it out a little bit. And if you think it's too strong, your lines are too strong, you can always take a mop brush or a makeup brush. The only thing is, if you use makeup brushes and the bristles come out, get rid of it, because it's not worth it. So maybe you can find a makeup brush where the bristles don't come out. I'll link the description to this makeup set that I bought from Amazon. I think it was like $6 and something. And I think it came with like 30 brushes, a whole bunch of little brushes. But right now I'm still using just my little flat. And my flat is a Langnickel Royal. And I prefer these, but you can buy just any flat that has a little bit of an oil painting brush that's a little, it's not really hard, but it's a firmer brush. Because if you use a brush that's too soft, it kind of doesn't move the oil paint as much. Just kind of making the waves a little choppy. And I'll go back to the sky because I know it looks a little bit streaky still. But I just want to kind of get everything based in a little bit. putting a little highlights on the water, moonlight, because the moonlight catches the water in little spots here and there. And I'm just using the very corner of my brush. You can take a little liner brush and do this if you'd like. Just want all the spots to be different color, different size. And it's the lighter of the blue that we mixed. It's white with a little bit of blue in it. Just want a few dots here and there. They're not all in one line or one row. Make them as uneven as you can, but there's probably more towards the moon. And then with the white that's left on my brush, I'm just going to put a few more streaks in the sky. I'll add a few more clouds here and there. It's just going to be kind of a little stormy. And you can add a little dioxazine purple in your and just slowly go back and forth if you need a little bit to even out some of your waves. Okay, now I'm getting my mop brush. And this is the mop brush. See, it's a makeup brush. And what I'm doing, I'm going to go over a lot of the areas, and what it does, it kind of smooths this paint out. It blends it a little bit. It's a really, really very soft bristle brush, and it's not really moving the paint a lot, but it moves it enough to kind of soften it. And like if you do the dots too strong, you can kind of blend it with that. It's great with playing with clouds. See, it doesn't move it a lot, but it just blends it a teeny bit. And you can press a little harder if you want it to blend it more, but a very light touch works best. I hope you enjoyed it today. Make this painting your own. Do it the way you want to do it. Make it lighter, darker, a little grayer if you want it more of a gray tone. But you do you, and I enjoyed painting with you today.